Greetings, I'm Zeb Sanders III. For the past 26 years, we have been undergoing a major cosmic transformation, the likes of which comes about perhaps every several thousand years. This is the first time in the history of Western civilization that such a phenomenon has been observed, documented, and now verified. In 1992, I proclaimed that we had entered the Aquarian era. I wrote a treatise providing evidence for my revelation. This treatise I distributed at St. Mary's Hospital in Long Beach, where the Long Beach Study Group was hosting a lecture during December of that year. This treatise was later published in Annie Pierce's The Community Coupon Clipper in the early part of 1993. In 1998, I published that very same treatise in my book, And Now There Is Aquarius. In this book, I also revealed the transition process I was personally undergoing as part of my responsibility for guiding through the very same process on a planetary scale, those whom the source would assign me. The 1992 treatise announced key dates for the transitioning process. 1992, the birth of the era, 2016, its crisis point, and 2022, the establishment of the foundation for the new time. The book added a fourth date, 1998, the year of its publication. 1998 revealed the blueprint for the era, the ideas that would characterize it and materialize as it. As we were at the beginning of the process and only two milestones of the transition had transpired, 1992 and 1998, there was little evidence to prove the existence of the process, to prove that a new era or cosmic system of energy had been birthed. Today, I share with you the indisputable evidence for the existence of this process. To be clear, for the past 26 years, we have been undergoing the first 4 stages of a 7-stage cosmic process, transitioning us from the Piscean era into the Aquarian era. Long before 1992, I personally began transiting this very process, all the while being guided. At the beginning of 1992, I was inspired that the Earth had entered a new spiral of time and that the very process I was undergoing at the personal level, the Earth had embarked upon at the planetary level. Consequently, it became apparent that this process of transition between two distinct phases of development is indeed an unalterable cosmic law, operating at the levels of microcosm and macrocosm. That by will and design of the source, I transited the process first to be taught, to learn, and otherwise prepared to guide through the planetary transition those whom the source deemed ready and able to carry out its instruction. As part of my calling and service to the evolution of humanity, in 1992, I declared my discovery, the existence of this law. I reflected upon my personal experience of its process to describe and prophesy the stages this planet and all of its inhabitants would undergo during this transition. And now I offer reliable, sound scientific evidence to prove to you its existence, to prove to you the accuracy and reliability of my prophecies, and to prove to you the fact of my communion with the source. It is by this communion that I am able to reveal to you the Word of God, its power and immutability, to impart to you the source's instruction that we will attain the highest level of development offered by this era and materialize its highest vibrations in our creation of a new earth and new civilization. We are presently in the 4th stage of this 7-fold process, the stage of transition. This stage requires that we move through the remaining stages consciously, that is, aware of the process and implementing the source's instruction. We have a mission. There are choices that we must make at this juncture that will impact the Earth, its inhabitants, all the generations to follow. We are to establish a new social order under the guidance of the source. By and for our obedience, the attainment of true, unassailable liberation and a secure prosperity are guaranteed. Today, I'm going to illustrate for you the 7-stage transition process that comprises this major cosmic transformation, provide you with one category of evidence that proves its existence, and explain to you why the constellations outlined by the International Astronomical Union, or IAU, are not indicators of the source's will, which alone signifies a cosmically induced planetary-scale revolution, the birthing of an era. To begin, this is a symbol of the new era. It serves as its gateway and as its law. It signifies the liberation of all that was oppressed during the Piscean era. In one respect, it stands in direct contrast to the interlaced hexagram, which boldly yet discreetly suggests the locking down or oppression of some hidden element. At one level, the interlaced hexagram corresponds to the astrological glyph of Pisces, as expressed by two tethered fish swimming in opposite directions. If we take this symbol for Aquarius, its gate as I describe it, and we open the gate, we find 7 distinct spheres, each corresponding to one point of the symbol. These spheres represent the 7 stages or phases in the process of coming into being. If you consider this process, this series of 7 stages, in light of the birthing of the summer sun at the winter solstice, the return, it may be easier for you to see how it serves to transition us from one season to the next, from one period of time into another. You may be able to understand how it facilitates and contours the flow of energy, how it determines how the energy entering into the system will behave. Regarding the transition from the Piscean era into the Aquarian era, you will see that each stage has been given a name. Each name describes how the energy will behave at that particular stage of the process. You will also notice that I have assigned dates to specific stages. 1992, Stage 1, 1998, Stage 2, 2016, Stage 4, and 2022, Stage 5. Here note that in my book, 2022 is placed at Stage 7. I offer the correction here. These dates tell us when the energy coming into being, the Aquarian energy, can be observed conforming to their respective stages, and by extension, conforming to the process. The stages we'll focus on today are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The 2nd stage I named defining. In the illustration of the open gate in my book, I have 1999 listed as the date of defining. However, in the text I write, we enter this phase with the publishing of this book. The book was published, as you can see, in 1998. That is the date that should have been in the 2nd sphere, 1998. Yet please note that each stage is more than 1 year in duration. At the stage of defining, the essential nature of the energy coming into being is revealed. In other words, the incoming energy manifests in a symbolic form. A model is presented. This model can take the form of an idea, a physical representation, or an archetype. The model serves to foreshadow what is to materialize by the end of the process. In my book I write, at this point in the process, the tone for the era is set. The idea or nature of its energies is presented, however abstractly. The 3rd stage I named generating. As the name implies, the model revealed at the 2nd stage begins the process of coming into being, of materializing, of reproducing itself. As it does so, and in order to do so, it begins to disintegrate the existing entity that it is to overtake and through which it is to materialize. In my book I write, the idea once defined is then sent forth to be brought into existence. At this 3rd stage, the existing organism on which it is acting is subtly but visibly broken down. The defined idea acts as an adjutant, producing a state of high activity, excitement, unrest within the existing organism, effectively and efficiently decomposing it, freeing its components. The stage we presently inhabit, the 4th stage, I experienced as the stage of transition. As the name suggests, a death and a birth are to occur. Another way to view this is that the old gives way to the new. In this instance, the physical structures once inhabited by the Piscean energies have been broken down to the point where the spirit of the era is released. The ghost is given up. However, for a transition to occur, the body must not be completely disintegrated. For the new energy, the Aquarian energies, requires a physical structure in order for it to materialize on the physical plane. Thus, at the appropriate time, the disintegration process must be halted. These are the three stages for which I'll provide proof, the second, third, and fourth. Again, keep in mind that each stage is more than 1 year in duration. To prove the soundness and accuracy of my declaration that 1992 began the process of a major transition between two distinct cosmic eras or spirals of time, I will utilize the phenomenon of global warming. I will demonstrate that nature, the progression of global warming, followed exactly the energy patterns represented by the second, third, and fourth stages of the transition process I discovered over 30 years ago. I will demonstrate how global warming adhered to the dates I prophesied 26 years ago in the case of 2016 and 20 years ago with respect to 1998. This will prove the existence of the stages, the existence of an ordered process, my discovery of an unalterable cosmic law, my communion with the source, and my function as transmitter of its will. Across the globe, nearly 200 scientific organizations and 97% or more climate scientists who actively publish conclude that global warming is extremely likely the result of human greenhouse gas emissions. In short, human activities are its primary cause. But what dictates the behavior of this phenomenon? What possesses the power and know-how to make global temperatures follow a set, predetermined pattern of expression? And why order global temperatures to follow such a configuration? Before addressing these questions, let me prove the basis upon which they rest, that global warming in fact has conformed to the second, third, and fourth stages of the 7-stage process transitioning us from the Piscean era into the Aquarian era. As earlier illustrated, the pattern of coming into being from stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4 consists of defining the incoming energy, it materializing in symbolic form, for example, as an idea, generating or reproducing that idea, and reaching the crisis point at which the new idea has grown to the point of overtaking the physical structure once occupied by the outgoing energy or idea. In considering global warming, it may be easier to understand its conformity to this pattern if we begin at the point of crisis, 2016. 2016 became the hottest year on record since 1880, the year annual global average surface temperatures were first recorded, as declared by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. 8 of its 12 months, according to both administrations, from January through September, with the exception of June, according to NASA, set heat records for those respective months. Yet what truly distinguishes 2016 as a crisis point are the phenomena leading up to it. 2016 was the third year in a row that the record for global average surface temperature was set. The anomaly of 3 consecutive record-breaking years, 2014, 2015, and 2016, appears to underscore the significance of the trend that preceded this 3-year period, the 3-year period itself, and 2016, its climax. These 3 consecutive years of record heat mark the first time such a phenomenon has taken place since global warming reemerged around 1970 and what's called the modern era of global warming. It marks only the second time since 1880. A second factor underscoring the significance of 2016 is that in the 21st century, The record for annual global average surface temperature has been set 5 times: 2016, 2015, 2014, 2010, and 2005. 5 times in 17 years. Further, 2016 was preceded by the hottest 5-year period on record, 2011 through 2015, according to the World Meteorological Organization. Following the record of 2016 and NASA's determination that 2017 was the second hottest year on record, NOAA ranking it third, the 2011 through 2015 5-year period was superseded by 2013 through 2017 as the hottest 5-year period on record. Both administrations agree the hottest 5 years ever recorded occurred since 2010. The NASA record holds these 5 years in order of rank as 2016, 2017, 2015, 2014, and 2010. Tellingly, 17 of the hottest 18 years ever recorded have all occurred since 2001. The lone year not of the 21st century, 1998. 1998, the year of defining. Now let us compare this trend of the 18 hottest years ever recorded to the second, third, and fourth stages of the process I discovered transitioning us from one distinct period of evolution into another. Recalling the description of stage 2, defining, it marks the period when the energetic force that came into being during the first stage, 1992, presents and establishes its specific characteristics in the form of a model. Regarding the climate, the record for global average surface temperature set in 1998 established the model that will serve to set the tone for the new era. It heralded an intensifying trend of record heat, a transformation of the Earth's climate. 1998 engendered stage 3, generating the 17 hottest global average surface temperatures ever recorded, including the 5 hottest years on record, the hottest 5-year period ever recorded, and 3 consecutive years of record-setting heat. The pinnacle of this 17-year trend and of the 3 consecutive years of record-setting heat was 2016. The hottest year ever recorded, the crisis point of the 7-stage cosmic process of transition. 26 years ago in my 1992 treatise, I wrote of this year, the year 2016 will be the crisis point in the first 30 years of the era. It will be characterized by a great and intense radiation of energy or life force. It will declare itself throughout the Earth as it will be the result of cosmic cause. In 1998, 20 years ago, I continue, 2016 is the point at which the disintegration process of the existing organism reaches its climax in a spontaneous and instantaneous acceleration of the vibratory rate of the organism. At this 4th stage, the new era begins to overtake the outgoing era and to exert its design and law upon the environment. We are yet in this period. Though scientists conclude that human activities emitting greenhouse gases are the primary cause of global warming, humans have no hand in global warming's conformity to the transition process's sequential order of development. To be clear, we have the phenomenon of global warming on the one hand, and the 7-stage transition process on the other. Global warming became subjected to the process. The fact that nature in general and global warming specifically follow the contours of a distinct orderly system bespeaks the influence of a power much greater than nature and far superior to the willfulness and know-how of humanity. This is a major cosmic-induced transformation, the expression of an unalterable cosmic law transitioning the Earth and its inhabitants from one distinct cosmic system of energy into another. This is the will of the source being manifested. Based upon my transiting of this process instructed by the source, global warming was thus positioned or highlighted over the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th stages to warn us that our abuse and misuse of the life energies of the Earth the extractions and subsequent emissions have brought us to the point of demise. In order to survive this self-inflicted predicament, we must modify our practices and halt those activities that induce global warming, that endanger and pollute the environment, and that threaten our existence and the existence of our fellow inhabitants of the earth. This is imperative. It is not a suggestion. This we must do. Global warming is but one category of evidence proving the existence of the seven-stage process of transition that comprises the major cosmic transformation I discovered and declared. By showing you how nature conformed to the second, third, and fourth stages of this process, I have proven the existence of the process and of the fact that we are undergoing a major cosmic transformation. The power to compel the forces of nature to conform to the contours of its process should tell you that there is a power much greater than nature that I reveal and for which I speak. I will offer another category of evidence at a later time that will serve to point us in the direction of another action that we must take in order to materialize the greatest blessings this new era has to offer. At this point, I think it imperative to distinguish between the source's intervention and humanity's attempts to predict its intervention. When we speak of an age, it's important to know what it is we are speaking about. In the metaphysical literature, be it classical or contemporary, a zodiacal age is perceived as a unique period of time in which a relatively specific type of energy is ushered in that permeates and influences all areas of human life, all realms of being, and that brings great and beneficent changes to the earth and to human society. The New Age promises and facilitates the realignment of humanity with its creator. What's little emphasized is the similarity of this conception with the Christian belief in Christ's return, the millennium. The idea of the millennium states, at the end of time, Christ will return in all his splendor to gather together the just, to annihilate hostile powers, and to found a glorious kingdom on earth for the enjoyment of the highest spiritual and material blessings. This Christian conception of a major heavenly transformation of the earth, minus the trappings of the Christian motif, is the very same conception held by many who believe and desire a coming astrological age. Both groups believe, desire, and seek divine intervention to exact justice, to ease suffering, to improve the human condition, and to cleanse and renew the earth. While Christians look for and expect the return of Christ, believers in a coming astrological age for centuries have anticipated the age of Aquarius. Just as there has been a long history of failed predictions of Christ's return, so too has there been a long history of failed predictions of the birthing of the age of Aquarius or similar dispensations. A common mistake in these attempts to predict a cosmic transformation is the misguided reliance upon limited human faculties, be they reasoning or intuitive, faulty understanding, and the resultant schemes and contrivances for predicting God's second coming. The very thing sought, the very thing desired to intervene is absent in these calculations. The source is left out. And if its presence is proclaimed, no sound, reliable evidence is given to prove it. One such contrivance is the use of constellations to predict a divine intervention. Here, the mistake is to conflate the source's intervention, or an age in this case, with an arbitrarily determined grouping of stars. When the vernal equinoctial point enters the constellation of Aquarius, it will signify simply that we have covered distance and past time. While such a signal is useful, like the other failed prophecies of a new dispensation, it does not determine the source's intervention, which alone constitutes a major cosmic transformation like we are undergoing at this time. When the International Astronomical Union convened in 1928 to remap the constellation boundaries, to my knowledge, they were not attempting to create a device to determine when the source would intervene in the affairs of humanity. Instead, they sought to remap the boundary lines of the constellations to stem the confusion and uncertainty brought on by the discovery of new constellations and faint stars. To take the result of their efforts, the 1930 catalog denoting the boundary lines of the entire heavens, and use it as a predictive tool or determination of the inception of an age, is to use this device for something that it was never designed for, nor could be designed to predict. A constellation and an age are two disparate entities. To prove the existence or commencement of one does not prove the existence or commencement of the other. Not one of the failed attempts to forecast the coming of the Lord or of an age, including using the device of constellations, was ever substantiated by concrete, reliable evidence. When the source intervenes to transition the earth from one period of time into another, it provides proof of its intervention, as I have illustrated and as I represent. To know, the key phrase of Aquarius, comes by direct participation or observation. That is how I arrived at my declaration that a new era was birthed in 1992. That is how I arrived at the 7-stage process constituting the major cosmic shift we are presently undergoing. That is how I arrived at the descriptions and prophecies of the 7 stages. That is how I knew the dates when the 1st, 2nd, and 4th stages would occur, and that is how I know when the 5th stage will occur. All by direct experience of having transited the process at the personal level, guided by the source, prior to it manifesting at the planetary level. It was by direct observation of the Earth's transit through this process that I confirmed for you what the source had led me to know. To know is to have directly experienced or observed. All else is belief, a Piscean construct. Einstein affirmed, pure logical thinking cannot yield us any knowledge of the empirical world. All knowledge of reality starts from experience and ends in it. Propositions arrived at by purely logical means are completely empty as regards reality. I have offered evidence proving that the non-human natural world has been following a path of development for the past 20 years that conforms to phases 2, 3, and 4 of a 7-fold process I discovered over 30 years ago. This process serves to transition the Earth and its inhabitants from the Piscean era into the era of Aquarius. By proving the Earth's conformity to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th phases of this transition process, I have proven the existence of the process. By its conformity to the dates prophesied, 1998 and 2016, I have proven the basis upon which these dates rest, the birth of the era, 1992. There is another category of evidence proving the existence of this process and illustrating the power of Source to compel its creation to conform to its will. In this example, it is humanity and its social structures that can be seen transitioning from its long period of utter corruption into the construction of a civilization guided by Source in alignment with its will. 20 years ago in And Now There Is Aquarius, I wrote of this transformation. Western civilization is a Piscean construct. It must disintegrate its organism according to divine law so that that of it which is salvageable may pass into the era of Aquarius to be joined into a totally new and unique organism of Aquarian origin. Its disintegration will release all who are oppressed under its rule. This is that time long sought by the peoples of African descent, Indian descent, and all other oppressed races and groups now repressed, denied, and otherwise subjugated unfairly under the rule of Western civilization. The critical point in the demise of Western civilization began in 2016. It is characterized in media as the overthrow of Western liberal democracy by authoritarian populism. This end of Western civilization and the liberation of Black peoples will be the subject of my next presentation. It will be posted within 2 months of the posting of this video, and as with this video, I will present the evidence for my declaration and an action that we must take. In conclusion, it's wisdom to note there is a profound, pronounced, vital, and consequential difference between an age and a constellation. An age or era is determined by source. It should be obvious that source is not constricted or compelled by the design's desire, will, or limited understanding of its creation. A constellation is determined by humans. They are no more than a physical marker, an agreed upon point of reference, a useful means of ordering the universe. Yet of themselves, they do not constitute a unique spiral of time or system of energy defined by a major cosmic transformation signifying either their birth or passing. They are not an era. They are not of the source. I have proven to you that we are now undergoing a cosmically induced major transformation. With each such transformation, source always provides its creation with a guide, the transmitter of its will. I have proven the accuracy and reliability of my prophecies, proving my communion with source, proving my station as the transmitter of its will. The Aquarian era is the name I give to this period of time that I herald. I do so consciously and with reason. Since the term era signifies the measuring of time from a specific event, I thought it more appropriate to substitute that term for age, especially as the ethereal, ever elusive Aquarian age has come to signify a speculative period of time with no known or verifiable date of commencement, a notion unmoored from reality. Thus, 1992 began the Aquarian era. We are on the brink of helping to renew the earth and of co-creating a new civilization. This is the source's doing. It is its will. I will provide source's instruction, and as we do our part, knowing that source will do its, we will establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. Be invigorated, wise, and dutiful. Have fun, and be blessed.